Welcome everyone, it's Basma Izzat from Natural TV. This is our new episode from our new TV show, Unknown History. In last 2 weeks we have been talking about very interesting topics about unknown event in history with Mr. Ayhan Özcembit, our weekly guest on our program. Last week we were talking about Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and why he is the most important man in the world, and then we talked about Hazrat Aisha and the role of women in Islam. Today our topic title is Çanakkale battle and World War, First World War, and unknown things about First World War. Let me introduce our guest, Mr. Ayhan Özcembit.
Yeah.
Welcome to our program.
Thank you for the kind invitation.
Thank you for being with us today. Our topic today is about
First World War
battle. This is the last battle Ottoman Empire joined.
That's right.
Why it's very important today to talk about it?
Because after this war, the Ottoman Empire and some empires in Europe finished, and as you know, the Ottoman Empire had to fight against Britain, France, Italy, and United States as well. Turkey, I mean, the Ottoman Empire was with Germany, Austria, and Bulgaria those days. And the hardest and the most difficult war was in Dardanelles. It's in Turkish Çanakkale.
Çanakkale battle.
Yeah, because 500,000 people died in this war. The war in Çanakkale. British troops, the most modern battle warships were in Çanakkale to pass Bosphorus to help Russia, because Russia was together with British Empire those days, and but there was terrible war inside of Russia, because communists revolted against the Tsar, the king of Russia those days, and Britain wanted to help Russia. But they couldn't pass the strait of Bosphorus and the Çanakkale Strait, and they thought that this was going to be very easy. They brought many soldiers from different countries when they couldn't pass.
Yes, we are going to talk about they bring African people to join
exactly
the war.
They told African people, you are going to fight against the most terrible nation in the world. If they capture you, don't surrender, they said. Don't leave your weapons, otherwise they will eat you. They will skin you off, they said. They told a lot of stories about the nation who they are going to fight against.
Yes.
But they told these lies to Indians also, Indian Muslims, Pakistani Muslims. They brought from these two countries. Those days it was British India. There was no Pakistan. And there were many Muslims in British India. They told, you're going to fight terrible nation. They told a lot of lies.
A brainwash, like.
Yeah, it was a brainwash, and to make them fight against Turkey, I mean Ottoman Empire, they brought these soldiers, very many soldiers. And they saw in Çanakkale, when the war started on land, because British troops landed in Seddül Bahir area and the Çanakkale Biga Peninsula. And they said, you're going to fight now, the terrible nation. They said, because Pakistani people or Indian people, they didn't know whom to fight. They were even Muslims. And they saw the Ottoman flag. It's a crescent and star. They said, oh, commander, sir, this is the Muslim flag,
Muslims
they said.
Too. Why we fight them?
The British commander told them, no. They are trying to deceive you. They know we have Muslim soldiers in our army, And that's why they want to abuse our army. They opened the Muslim Caliphate flag, they said.
You also mentioned something to me before we start that it's related to azan. It wasn't Arabic.
Exactly.
I don't think many people know this.
Yeah, and the world people and African brothers have to know something about azan. The azan is in Arabic language, and if azan starts, recite, is heard by any Muslim, they know it's an azan, calling for the prayer.
No, they are Muslims too.
Yeah, even today, many Christians know it's azan, it's calling for the prayer. And when Muslims in the British Army believed that was the flag, fake flag of Islam, they believed commander of British Army, but they heard azan in the morning time from the Ottoman troops, Ottoman side, Ottoman fronts. They said themselves, they were talking each other, of course. British commander, British government deceived us. These are Muslim Ottomans. We are fighting against our brothers. We have to change our position, they said. And nearly 25,000 Muslims in British Army went to Turkey's part with their weapons.
Really?
Please, let's imagine 250,000 soldiers of British troops and French or some other Canadian troops. This side is Ottoman troops. 250,000 soldiers here. Can we imagine, please, 25,000 soldiers from these troops going to other side? What happens? It's a very big difference,
yes,
because this side goes down, the number of the soldier goes to 225,000. This side is 275,000 soldiers, and the Turkey won the war also because of this greatest effect. But Britain never forgot this event. When Turkey won the independence war, Turkish delegates and the British delegate were sitting, also some other countries. British delegate said, we want azan to be recited in Turkish, not in Arabic. The Turkish delegate didn't understand the meaning of this. They had to accept, because we were just finished. We have just finished the war, and the things were very difficult in Turkey. And the new government had no possibility to think about Turkish azan or Arabic azan, the results of this. But British Empire was very clever, and they wanted this just because of the breaking a universal message of azan starting from Turkey to the other countries. So this way every country would recite azan in their language, and the universality of Islam would be broken.
Yes, it changed.
And anyway, this was the greatest story which never told, which never mentioned in Turkey and the world history. I wrote this in my book.
Is a little known.
Sorry?
Is it about this pattern? Not everyone know everything about it.
Exactly, and this story has to be known by every country, especially in the Muslim countries, and because we must protect our religion, universality. Azan, okay, it's Arabic, and everyone has to understand their calling, but today, when we listen azan, we understand even when we understand just a little bit Arabic. La ilaha illallah.
It's several words, not a big deal.
It's hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah. These are the calling message for the prayer. We understand it very easily. Yes. But this is there is also one word in there, hayya ala falah. When we translate this word hayya ala falah, means come on for salvation, for revolution. It's calling not only for praying, it's also for independence. of a country or ourselves. The falah means this salvation. We can get this salvation in two ways: individually, ourselves against Satan, and also our country against imperialism. Imperialists are doing very bad things. Today they change their tactics. They use some soft ways to capture people's money and also their values, not only in Turkey or so in Africa or some other countries. There is International Monetary Fund today. They give you money and they keep control your country, right? And these are new instruments of the imperialist world. Unfortunately,
new techniques.
Techniques, let's say. And the First World War was very interesting because this Çanakkale War, especially Dardanelles, they couldn't go to Russia. There was terrible war in Russia too.
I want to ask you, the aim of this war was to control Russia or to recontrol Istanbul?
The most important aim was to get Istanbul, because Istanbul was a very key point to control Black Sea area and the Mediterranean Agency as well. Without taking Istanbul, England understood it was going to be very difficult to finish this war. And that is why they tried to pass from Istanbul, away from Istanbul, taking Istanbul and helping Russia. Russian king, not Russia. Russian king is, in Russian language, Tsar. Tsar means king. Because Russians, they call their kings as Tsars.
It came from Sir
in Turkish
English?
We say Char.
Char.
In also Sultan, Russian Sultan can be taught is king, let's say. And he was in bad situation. He called England for help because those days, during the First World War, Russian people got poverty very badly because starving started in Russia. In the cold rural areas in Russia, people don't know, but they were eating their casualties, their relatives' dead bodies, because they were starving in Siberia, in those areas. And that is why communist revolution was very successful against the king of Russia. And the communists, they started fighting against the king, and the king, Russian king, called England to help. That is why they wanted to pass through the Dardanelles and Istanbul Bosphorus Strait. That is why this war started in that area, but England couldn't succeed to pass from there, and the communists won the war in Russia, and this changed whole European history.
And also the Ottoman army was so encouraged, they fight encouragedly to defend their lands.
That's true, that's true. There are some pictures, if they show on the telly. One of them is, for instance, in the First World War, Turkey lost a lot of adult soldiers. They had no man anymore, unfortunately. And there were only kids, about 12 years old. And the Ottoman army,
the recruitment,
the Ottoman army and the troops were consist of all the 12 years old kids, because there were no men anymore.
And they fought? They
fought. Yeah, one British commander saw one child, was his dead body. The child, Ottoman child soldier, was smiling. His dead body was smiling, and he says, this is written, he says, then I understood we were going to lose this battle.
Wow.
And I thank the people of Africa and Asia too. They came voluntarily to help Turkey against British Empire. And we have to mention also Musa Sudan. The
Yeah, we are going to
Sudanese.
talk about him the next.
Yeah, he's
parts
the
after the
greatest
break.
Ottoman agent, a
Yes.
very successful person
Yes.
in Middle East against British army and soldiers.
So as I know from you that there is two group of people from Africa came to participate in this war. One of them was against Ottoman Empire, and
Yeah.
one of them was with
But they didn't know whom they are going to fight.
the against part.
Yeah, they came to Dardanelles without knowing that they are going to
France
fight.
and Britain bring
because
them from
France
Africa.
and the British commanders told a lot of lies about Turkey, and they believed, unfortunately, and they kept on fighting. And some of them, of course, joined the Turkish
Then he changed his mind.
side. They changed their position in the army, and
yes.
that's why we were successful against the most modern army of the world those days. British army. They brought many warships, really. In the Queen Elizabeth, it was one of the biggest warship in Dardanelles, and Turkish artillery was very successful to hit it, and Queen Elizabeth sank into the Dardanelles water.
Yes.
And this was the common success, not only for Turks, but also African brothers and also Asian brothers, Middle Eastern brothers. Many Arabs came from Syria, Lebanon.
From all over the world.
Yes,
actually,
of course, they helped us, and I'm very happy that we were helped by these countries, and we are appreciated to Africa and also Arab countries very much for their helps, really, assistance.
Yeah. Talking about courage, you told me before we are on the air something about a woman, Turkish woman who's lost her husband and
kids,
son, and then there's an interesting story. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, she's not a lone person. She's not the one story. She's not the one story.
As we're talking about unknown things,
very many stories like this. She's standing at the in Turkey, one city, they say Bilecik. She's standing there and she's speaking to her son. She says, "Your brothers, your elder brothers, your father, your uncle, they all died for the country, to protect the country, to protect our namus, cleanness, to protect your mother, the mothers of the country. Otherwise, they were going to rape us. Now you are going, son. Go and don't come back. Go and die for the honor of the country and for your mother's salvation." And this was told by every mother. In Anatolia, they use henna, for hands before they get married. They use henna. And the mothers, before their kids went to army, they put some henna on their body also, just like a sacrifice of the country. Also, they used the henna for the lambs and sheep in Anatolia. That means the sacrifice of the country. Go and don't come back. Die for God. Die for the protection of the country, that means.
Wow.
And that is why we lost millions of people in the First World War. Just 4 million civilians in Ottoman Empire and the Balkan Peninsula. They were killed by some terrorists on the mountains. Some, unfortunately, Armenian terrorists, Tashnak, party. They killed almost 500,000 innocent civilians.
Oh my God.
And also many people were killed in Balkan Peninsula. They were raped, they were killed, even little children, they were killed. And unfortunately, Kazım Karabekir, a commander in the eastern part of Turkey, he was going to fight against Armenian troops in the First World War. He told all his soldiers, you're not going to touch any woman or any children or any animals or something. Only you're going to fight the terrorists on the mountains. This man has seen many casualties in the villages. That woman, they were killed, they were raped. Even little children were killed, raped in Erzurum area, in the
this is not an Islamic
Turkey.
ethics at all.
No, this was not ethic really. And my grandmom was from northern Erzurum city in the eastern part of Turkey. And she was telling these stories because she was a little kid those days. She has seen these things. The Armenian terrorists, they were killing the civilians with axes, hitting on their heads and swearing, even little kids. And she said, I was under the cow in barn, you know, in the cow. That is why they couldn't see me, and that is why they could come to near Ankara. Çorum city, they migrated after this invention.
Actually, war is very difficult.
Yeah, unfortunately, these were not written, especially Western media or Western sources were not writing this, and they always made films against Turkey, especially also even the Lawrence the Arabian.
Yes,
he was British agent. And he used also Islam against Muslims.
And the film, this movie is very different from the reality,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. But the reality was different. But I want to warn the Muslims about something. Last episode we talked about fake hadith, right?
Yes, right.
There was also one fake hadith, and Arabs were deceived with this fake hadith by Lawrence.
What is this?
That fake hadith is telling governance and imamat, sultanate or government only belongs to Quraysh. Quraysh is a tribe in Arabia. That means the governance, kingdom or sultanate can belong to only to the Quraysh Arabs, not others. And Lawrence told them, the Turks, Ottoman Turks, can't rule here. They have no right. Please look at the hadith here. It's writing, this imamate, this sultanate only belongs to you. He
deceived them.
Yeah, he deceived. And they believed after seeing this. And after that, they try, oh, this is writing here like this, so we have to take our rights from the Ottoman sultans. They started revolting against Ottoman Empire. This is very important key point in the First World War.
Yes, we are going to talk about Lawrence Arabian, yes, and Musa Sudanese.
Musa the Sudanese, yeah.
Yeah. After the break, I have just to mention something that soldiers in the First War, they suffered a lot. That was very difficult situation.
Many unknown stories.
Yeah, we are going to talk about more about it maybe in next show or something. Now we have a commercial break. It's a short break. Then we come back to you to talk about Musa Sudanese. Maybe not people know about him, but we are going to tell you unknown story of Musa the Sudanese. Stay with us. Welcome back to our TV show Unknown History. It's Basma Izzat and our guest is Mr. Ayhan Ozjambit. Before the break we were talking about Çanakkale battle, or we can say Dardanelles battle. And the unknown thing is untold story about Çanakkale battle. Now we are going to talk about a very important person in this war called Musa the Sudanese. Maybe not a lot of people know more about him. Actually, in our modern sources, in our modern books, we can say there is no more about him. Today we are going to talk about him with Mr. Rayhan. How can you tell us about this person? He was a soldier, right?
He was an agent in the Ottoman intelligence service, but he was very successful agent against British Empire, because British Empire had many agents in Middle East. Lawrence the Arabian was one of them, and a very successful person. And the Turkey's the most successful agent was in the area was Musa the Sudanese. He was from Sudan, and he was educated by Ottoman intelligence service.
He came to Istanbul to study. His father was a soldier in Egypt, as I know. I don't know much about him.
And but the most important thing is he was a great Muslim, really, and that is why he was defending Ottoman Empire against the British Empire. Ottoman Empire was an empire, but it was not imperialist.
Yes.
This is very key point. We must underline it. Ottoman Empire never took any slaves from Africa to use in Anatolian farms or something. Just like other countries did this, many people were taken from Africa to America or some other places to work.
Actually, last episode we said about we talked about conquest, not occupation.
Yeah,
there is a difference from this. Yes. Can you tell us the difference?
Yeah, the difference is Fatih Sultan Mehmed, when he conquered Istanbul, the Istanbul people, the Greeks or Latins in Istanbul, they were afraid that they would be killed or raped by the Turkish Ottoman soldiers. And they were shivering and trembling in Hagia Sophia. They were waiting, and they were in fear, really. Ottoman came inside of Hagia Sophia, the church, and he said, "Don't be afraid. You don't need to be afraid of us, because we are not going to kill you, or you're not going to be raped. You're going to be Ottoman citizen with equal rights with others, and you can worship in your churches freely. You are free, and we are not going to touch your honor or church. We are not going to try to convert you, make you convert to Islam or something. You are free." And they were very surprised hearing this. There is also one important point the historians never told. Armenians were Gregorian Christians, but the Greeks were Orthodox Christians. Yes. And they never let Armenians build their church in Istanbul, Constantinople, until 1453. When Fatih Sultan Mehmed conquered Istanbul, then first Armenian church was built in Istanbul. And Armenians...
After he came?
Yeah, after he came. And they had no permanent residence in Istanbul those days. And they were not powerful. And unfortunately, Byzantine Empire was very discriminative against Armenians in Anatolia. And they tried to keep Armenians only in Anatolia, not in Istanbul. And when Fatih Sultan Mehmed came, he let Armenians build their church in Istanbul freely, and took many Armenians to Istanbul. And this was a very important point. And many Armenians don't reveal this truth. And some sincere ones know the reality about this. And this is a very important point. This was conquest, not occupation. Because conquest, you give equal rights. You and me, we are equal, no difference.
At the same level.
But the occupation, yes. I am more equal than you. means I have more position, situation, and
or authority.
you have yes, you are going to be second-class citizen or something. Even we go Western countries today, when you are asylum seeker, you are second-class citizen or less than that one. And the Ottoman Empire was not imperialistic empire. Comparing the others, was just like First Roman Empire was also the same. The first, before the Christianity, Byzantine Empire was a little bit same, because they also gave chance, equal rights to others. So we can say Ottoman Empire is the third Roman Empire. First is big Roman Empire, and the second is Byzantine Empire, and third is Ottoman Empire. Is the not imperialistic, giving the equal rights, and the civilization also, where even Ottoman Empire, if you visit Istanbul, they were thinking of birds. They were housing for the birds. They can go inside in winter. They can egg inside on the walls of on the wall of the mosques or some other places you can see. But even today in the modern world, they don't want any bird to land at the top of the churches or some other places. They use a special stingy wire, barbed wire, something. They don't want bird even landing there because of the excrements of the birds coming down from the wall. So this is only one thing what we can say. Even there were sadaka stones in the Ottoman Empire in Istanbul. Some rich people coming in the night and putting some money inside of the stone. This was higher from the ground. They were putting inside of the stone.
To be unknown?
Any person was, any rich one, for instance, I'm rich and I'm putting some money inside. Any poor woman or yatim coming in the middle of the night, not being seen by others, and taking not all of them, just a little for the daily expenses, daily needs, and not more. There was wonderful combination, but this kind of things were never told in the Western by the Western historians.
And coming back to Musa the Sudanese, despite his very important role in the War of Independence, he's not so known person. Why?
Because unfortunately there were many things about Turkish and Ottoman history, Islamic history. These things were not arranged very well. According to the agreement between newborn Turkey and British Empire at the beginning in the 1923, unfortunately, our education system was taken by and also was according to British will.
Under control of the British.
Our generations didn't know really their history very well. Only something, but not detail. No detail. So our even when I was child, I remember some history books in Turkey was talking about bad things about Sultan Abdülhamit the Sultan. They
till
said,
now we have two point of view about him. Actually,
yeah, he was very nice, great man, really, and but he was called as Red Sultan.
Yes,
Sultan de Rouge, they were saying, and those days Ittihad and Teraki party was against Abdülhamit the second, and they didn't understand very well about him, really, what he was trying to do. Abdülhamit had very good relations with Russia one side and also with British Empire, balancing each other. And he was also helping the peace in between these two countries.
Diplomatically.
Diplomatically. He was a genius about this, really. And he was controlling these two countries also by his great policy. And but Enver Pasha and his followers didn't understand him very well. His soldiers in Saloniki in Greece, they told, Sultan is against Sharia. He is breaking the rules of Sharia. We must revolt against Abdul Hamid II, they told. And many soldiers were ignorant, and they believed what their commanders said, and they started walking against the Sultan. That is called in Turkish history 31st of March events. And the Sultan has seen many people, soldiers, outside waiting and protesting against him. And if he wanted, he could use his own army against that army. But he didn't do that because he didn't want to kill innocent, deceived soldiers.
Yes.
But unfortunately, Ittihad and Terakki and their policies caused a lot of things, and many Muslims died in the end of those policies. And we lost all Balkan side, and we lost in the territory in the Middle East area. After this event, we lost maybe we were going to lose all Anatolia if there was no Mustafa Kemal Atatürk and his friends against this.
Musa, the Sudanese fought under leadership of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, right?
No, he was under the rule. He was serving for a country, and he was,
he participated. I mean,
his aim was not for policy. He believed always, I'm serving for my country, for Ottoman Empire, he said. Even doesn't matter for Enver Pasha or who. He only taught about Islam and also working for Islam. And in the First World War, there was Enver Pasha, and he helped for the country. He took a lot of money from Istanbul to Yemen, Arabia, the Ottoman soldiers. They had no money, and this money, this gold, must have been taken to Ottoman troops. But the British troops were inside of Arabia and cutting every road. How was going to be possible? He was very clever, and he was speaking Arabic language fluently, and he is black. That is why it was easy to travel those areas. He was African, speaking Arabic language. It was giving a good chance for him to disappear. And then he was going and coming between Turkish, Istanbul and Ottoman troops in that area. And the British army couldn't find him. Who was he? What was he doing? He was tried to be captured and killed those days.
They wanted to use him.
They wanted to use also if they could do this. But after the war, the First World War, everything was finished, and the Ottoman Empire was occupied, especially Istanbul was occupied by British troops. And the Commander Harrington was going on the street by his car, old model First World War, old car. And Harrington's soldier said, Commander, sir, this man is working there as porter.
Yes, sir.
He is Musa, the Sudanese. Really? He said. Okay, let's go there. That then car turned next to him. He said, hello, Musa. And he was still working, taking from the load from here to the ship. He was the porter. He didn't care of money. And Harrington kept on speaking. He said, what do you think about serving for Her Majesty, British Queen? doing this hard job is not for you, he said. Musa the Sudani said, don't say that, out of question, he said.
Wow.
He could be, if he had taught himself, he was going to get a lot of money from the Queen, working for British Empire.
Yes.
He refused, because I always tell some nationalists in Turkey, being Turk is not related to blood.
That's right.
Being Turk is related to courage in the heart. So any African or Asian or any European, like Bosnians, like Albanians, or like Pomaks, or even some Muslim Germans, they can be Turk by heart.
Yes.
Not by blood.
I really appreciate that you said that.
That is a very important point, yes. Because being Turk is to be against every kind of kuffar in Anatolia, defending our Islamic lands against in any kind of imperialism. For us, our heart's country starts not from Izmir, it starts from West Africa. For our hearts, our country's border doesn't end in Kars. It goes till Indonesia.
Yes.
Our border in the south is not Antakya. It goes till Sudan and Tanzania, this area, because we always saw our brothers equal with us.
Right.
We are not different than them. We are not above, we are not beneath. We are all equal brothers, yes. According to our book, Quran. Because God says in there, you are all equal. And only the above ones who has got more responsibility for the others.
Yes.
This is a very key point. And the Musa, the Sudanese, was a person like this. He was educated with this mentality. This must be taught today, our young generations, starting from, not from Izmir, starting from West Africa, till Indonesia, because we are big, or same country. The borders or languages are not different, are not important. Yes. If there is fire in any part of Africa, our heart is burning. And you know, there was terrible massacres in some countries, especially in Rwanda, I think, as far as I remember. We also were very sad because we are all human beings. As a Muslim, we are responsible to help. Doesn't matter who he is or she is.
That's our
we
identity.
Must go and
we belong to.
That is why Islam spread everywhere.
And that's why a lot of African people lives in Turkey, and they become Turkish people.
Yeah, their race is black, but they are all white. Doesn't matter for us, because we don't care black or white in our country. Africans are our brothers, and they are living in our country with the same equal rights in our country, and we love them very much.
Of course. Yeah, thank you so much for this valuable information for today.
You're welcome.
It's amazing. So even Musa, he was from Darfur, Sudan.
He died poorly.
He died, yes, I know this.
In Üsküdar, in Turkey, in Istanbul.
He fought very courageously to defend Turkey's land. It's amazing. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Wait for us for next week, a new topic, and new interesting untold stories about unknown history events. Thank you so much for being with us today. Have a nice day.